Well, hello. Welcome back or welcome to the channel, whichever applies. If you're new here, I basically watch a movie, I come down, I sit, and I yak about it, and that's about it. No script, no forethought, just boom, camera, me rambling on about stuff like I know what I'm talking about. Which 9 times out of 10, I don't. So, hopefully that appeals. If not, later. Anyway, I just watched KillRoy was here, which is a very interesting piece of cinematic history in the sense that it's a film directed by Kevin Smith. It's a horror anthology film based on a meme from World War II called KillRoy was here, and it was released as an NFT only, so you can't get a physical copy of it. You couldn't have seen it in theaters, I don't think. And if you could, it was like a very, very limited run or something. But I assume it's an NFT, so probably not. Yeah. That's a very strange way to do a movie, but lo and behold, here it is. And I watched it, so I can tell you whether or not you should waste your time trying to hunt this thing down, because it's not easy to find. Let's get into it. So, spoiler alert, you know the drill. I'll be talking about the film, events in the film, things that happen, the ending, etc. So if you don't want that spoiled, if you want to go do the big hunt for KillRoy was here and don't want it spoiled, you've been warned. So you can skip ahead to the little timestamp that says, thoughts or whatever. As long as it doesn't say spoilers in the bracket, you'll be safe from spoilers. Anyway, let us begin. So we start with the mom getting ready to go out, and her little girl is going to be babysat. Is that the term? I don't know. Anyway, babysitter shows up, and in the lot she's being dropped off by her boyfriend. She's like, okay, so in a half hour, when you see all the lights come off, it's okay to come in. And basically they're planning on getting busy. The typical teenage promiscuous babies. Well, I hope that's not typical, actually. Jeez. Anyway, that's the plan. And she essentially tells him, listen, and if he's can't remember. I literally just watched this, but whatever. There's something along the lines of like suspicion of another girl. He's like, if you cheat on me, I will kill you, or something along those lines. So anyway, there you go. She goes in the house. The mom leaves, and the mom's like, okay, so 2 rules: don't give her popcorn no matter how much she asks, and don't let her watch the news. She's like, all right, will do. Mom leaves. Bowl of popcorn and the news. On the news, it's showing some kids have disappeared in the area lately. And she decides to tell this little girl that it's a monster called KillRoy, which I guess is a local legend around this town. So anyway, she starts by telling the kid that basically it comes after children only. It has like a psychic link with kids, so kids can summon it or whatever, and nothing can stop it. Tells the story of how it was a meme in World War II that started, and eventually there was this kid who was drafted to Vietnam and ended up being captured by the VC, which is the Viet Cong, which is the opposing force to America in the war, obviously. And when the military came to free him from this camp, they found like everyone within I think they said 10 miles or something was dead, and there's our buddy Roy eating this Viet Cong soldier's remains. And so that's how we got the name KillRoy, I guess. Anyway, they lock him up, and the place where he's being held goes up in flames, but they're like, hey, he's a piece of shit, so just let him burn, I guess. Anyway, he does, but apparently he's too evil to die, so all of his humanity was burned off, and all you have left is our good friend KillRoy there. So there we go. He's a monster now. Good times. So basically she tells the little girl that the reason his house was so cheap, that your mom got it so cheap, is not, the kid's like, is it because of the housing crisis or whatever or something? I don't know. She's like, no, it's because there was a murder by KillRoy just down the street. And then we get to our first little story. So we have a young girl who is ill. She has a heart problem or whatnot, and her mom is doing like church drives and stuff and to raise money or whatnot. And there's a news team there reporting on it, and throughout the whole thing, it seems sad and everything, but then the news person leaves, and the little girl's like, I don't want to go to this church drive again. Like, I want to just have a life. And the mom's like, guilt trips her hard. It's like, listen, I gave up everything to look after you, make sure you're good and all that stuff and whatever. Anyway, she's like, I'm gonna make you some of that special tea that I make you. And the little girl's like, oh, I don't even like that stuff. She's like, no, I'm gonna make it for you. Shows the mom going into there's like a little greenhouse or something, and yeah, it turns out it's wolfsbane. So she's, through trial and error, this girl finds, or not trial and error, through looking up on the internet, she finds out that the flowers that her mom's growing are wolfbane, and it's used to poison people, and it's basically untraceable apparently as a poison. That wakes her up a little bit. So she goes to, they fast forward to this church drive where everyone is all gushing about, like, oh my god, you must be going through so much, to the mother and not the little girl. So apparently she lost her husband, and now her little girl is sick with this heart problem, and they're trying to raise money. The reason they're raising money is to go get her like a heart transplant or whatever, apparently. But knowing about the wolfsbane thing, I think it's more along the lines of raising money to do the heart transplant, and then the kid dies, and then she has all this money. So that's lovely. Anyway, mom goes up on stage and everything, and it's like, oh, thank you so much, and blah, 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 and, without you guys, I could never have achieved this moment or whatever. It's really weird because it's like she's almost like a celebrity winning an award instead of like her kid getting like money for a heart transplant. Anyway, little girl goes up on the stage, and she starts talking about how her father died, and it was very strange. He got drunk and he flirted with one of the neighbors or something, and then the mom was like, oh my god, quiet, don't say that stuff. But she keeps going, and mom was upset. And the night that he died, it was really weird because she made him some of that tea that she usually makes, and then he died the next day, and he had no history of heart trouble or anything like that. And anyway, basically blows her whole story, saying, yeah, she killed dad and now she's killing me, so that's great. But throughout this, she mentions that she had been doing research on wolfsbane and all that, and she had also been through, the wormhole of YouTube, how you end up on one video looking at cat videos, and then you're watching some video about, like, Charles Manson still being alive or something weird. It's just like a wormhole of, like, it gets weirder the further you go with links. Anyway, she found out about local legend KillRoy. And throughout this little speech on the stage, she says KillRoy's name 3 times. And lo and behold, that summons him, and he starts giving him hell. So at the end of her speech, basically, yeah, she says KillRoy the last time, chugs the rest of that special tea, I guess, ending her own existence. And KillRoy ends up taking out everyone and approaches the mom and puts a little wolfbane in her mouth. So that's, taste your own medicine. Boom. Story 1 done. Babysitter checks her app, and she sees her boyfriend. I guess she's tracking him or something, and sees her boyfriend going to someone else's house, it seems. She's not happy about that, but the little girl interrupts. Still awake. Should have been asleep by now, but anyway. Ends up telling her another little story. So this one takes place at a school theater production recital or something, where these kids are screaming, and the teacher comes in, and she's like, what the hell's going on? And one of the kids is like, they're like back and forth, like, he was screaming for her, she was screaming for her, whatever. And then the little boy's like, she was trying to summon KillRoy, and she's like, what is that? Anyway, they tell her essentially the story of KillRoy, and the teacher is obviously brushing it off, like, hey, first of all, saying something's name 3 times, that's like Beetlejuice. It's a movie thing, like, it doesn't happen. There's also a couple of jokes about Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch and stuff, which is kind of amusing. Just watch the movie to find them out. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So the teacher ends up saying the name 3 times, essentially, and the kids are like, oh my god, you did it, you said it 3 times, whatever. And that's why she tells them, like, that's just a thing, it's not a real thing, it's what movies use to summon monsters, it's not legit, this isn't a real thing, like, it's not real like you and me or Santa Claus. She ends up confirming Santa Claus exists to the kids. I guess doesn't want to break their little hearts, right? Anyway, one of the kids freaks out and says, "You said his name 3 times, and now she's gone. The little girl's gone." So obviously the teacher's kind of like, what the hell? Goes to search for him, runs into the janitor, who is played by Jason Mewes, so that's fun. Keeping him consistent in the Kevin Smith movies, for the most part. Anyway, he tells her essentially, like, okay, well, these kids, you know, they're always causing trouble, whatever, you know, cleaning up messes they make in the bathroom, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, they split up and they go to, one goes to one way to look for the kids, one goes the other way. Teacher goes back to the stage area and these kids are chanting, holding hands with their eyes closed, doing some kind of incantation or something. She's like, guys, can you not? That would be not a fun thing. I forgot to mention, there was a mask that the little girl was hiding behind her back that she was gonna, I guess, scare the boy with. And when the teacher was looking for them, she ends up finding this mask in, like, the backstage area with a bunch of candles lit around it. So that's not ominous or anything. Anyway. Kids start chanting. She's like, yeah, I'm gonna go tell Chet, that's the janitor's name, that I found you guys, so I'll be right back. And then we're gonna get on with this production. We're gonna sing some happy songs and we're gonna be all good. Alright? Anyway. Goes and finds Chet and... is not able to find Chet, sorry, and then comes back, and then the kids are gone again. And it's like, what the hell? And then you hear them screaming, and she runs and opens this door to the... she's looking for the kids, oh my god, I'm so sorry. She ends up going into the art room and there's like pictures of KillRoy that kids drew, like killing people and stuff. And then she hears a scream from another room, which she goes and investigates, and the kids are laughing like, haha, got you, you fucker, basically. And the janitor was in on it apparently, and they're all laughing, and you know, all's well that ends well, right? Fast forward to later in the night, I guess they did their little practice recital. The parents picked them up, and the janitor's like, yeah, so basically confirms KillRoy is real. Says, yeah, we used to have kids missing every year until these two came along, and they were the first to come up with the concept of making a deal with KillRoy. So basically blood for blood. They found out that they could get an adult to say his name 3 times as long as they're around, and then KillRoy can just take on that adult. And yeah, that's all that needs to be done. She's like, what? And she turns and realizes that now the gate to the inside of the school is shut, so she's like kind of stuck where she is. It's like, what the hell? And then the vehicle backs up with the kids in the back seat, and she turns and looks, and then you get a big machete blade through her. So she dead. And then see KillRoy hacking away at her as they drive off, and the kids are like, better her than me. And you know, I was like, no shit. And they go up to their like Game Boys or phone video games or whatever it is. So that's fun. Anyway, back to the babysitter situation. She's still monitoring her boyfriend, and it's confirmed. She sees him pull up on like her little GPS tracker thing at this other girl's house, and she's like, you son of a bitch. Little girl's still awake. She comes up and says, listen, okay, so I got a question for you. What's that? If all the people that ever dealt with KillRoy are killed, how do you know about these stories? She's like, okay, well, sometimes KillRoy's a little messy. Sometimes he gets seen. Girl's like, okay, that makes more sense. Cut to another story. We have a priest who's picking up these 2 young lads. Yeah, it sounds bad. These 2 young lads to go camping, and yes, it is bad, and I'm not going to go into too many details about this story because it's a little bit, let's just say it's probably what you're thinking it is. He goes to this, it's not camping, it's a motel. There are 2 other priests, they're like drinking and smoking and all that stuff, and he comes back and these kids have their tents set up on the beds in the hotel, and the priest proceeds to do things that are stereotypically not good, things that are associated with priests by, you know, we'll leave it there. Anyway, he goes to open up the first tent to get to the children, and lo and behold, it's KillRoy. Hooray. And KillRoy cuts him directly in half from the top of the head all the way down, so he's dead. Proceeds to go to the other priests' rooms and kill those other priests, and Bob's your uncle. Now, how these kids knew about KillRoy, of course I forgot to mention it, before they got to the motel campground, they stopped at a convenience store, and one of the clerk there was Latino, and he's like, hey, I noticed you've been taking all these Latino boys, and they never speak English, and he's He's like, yeah, it seems to it is the way it is, but the Lord doesn't see race or something along those lines. He's like, listen, I know what's up because when I was young, a priest took me camping. He's like, okay, you have a nice day. Anyway, the priest exits and the clerk grabs the kid's hands and basically says in Spanish, KillRoy, say the name 3 times. All right, cool. And yeah, they basically they summon KillRoy to take out the priest. So that's great. Then we have a rather interesting one. So it doesn't cut back to the babysitter. It just shows a live stream of this guy who calls himself the Gator Chaser. And it sounds like he's luring child predators or something. And he calls them gators. But no, what he is he's a homophobic person who lures people who are gay through some app and then exposes them and destroys families, destroys people's lives, whatever, of these people that are curious about experimenting with the same sex. Anyway, does that to this one guy in a car, and all of his fans are, I guess, cheering him on or something. I mean, they even have like he's reading off like usernames in their comments, and one of them is even like MAGA something. So there you go. Anyway, whatever. And then someone mentions in the chat along the lines of like, yeah, so what about the guy that killed himself that you exposed on the channel? And he's like, oh, well, I don't care. And he's just completely heartless about it. He just doesn't care. He's just a piece of shit, basically. Anyway, he gets clubbed, and it turns out that he ends up waking up and getting splashed with water. And you hear a woman's voice. You still see the live stream, so she's recording him tied up now up against a tree, soaked in this stuff. She's like, yeah, that's chicken water. That's what they wash the dead chickens in after they pluck the feathers off them and everything, so that's gross. He's like, well, what the hell? And he's like, yeah, now I'm the gator hunter. He's like, I'm not a gator, which I guess is his term for homosexual or whatever. Anyway, she's like, no, but that is, and there's an actual gator, like an alligator crawling up. And he smells like chicken water. And she basically explains, listen, that man that killed himself that we talked about in the chat, that was my husband. He was a really nice guy. He treated the kids properly. He was the best guy I'd ever met, the nicest, kindest, sweetest man. And he had some urges that he was struggling with. And I set up this app, and I set up the date with someone who I thought was going to be good for him, to get this out of his system and see where he wants to go with this. You know, if there's something that I can't provide him, at least this is a safe way to do it. And it turned out to be you asshole. And he's like, what the hell? Anyway, she goes back to the Jeep and puts the live stream on as he's getting eaten. Oh, by the way, the Gator Chaser is Chris Jericho, so that's fun. He gets eaten on the camera, and she's on the Jeep, the hood of the Jeep, smoking a cigarette. Her little daughter's in the back seat, I guess, sleeping or whatever. And then she gets clubbed and wakes up. And you see dismembered pieces of Chris Jericho's remains. And she's tied up to the tree. And lo and behold, it's KillRoy. And he doses her with chicken water. And the same thing happens to her, and then it cuts out. So I may have missed it. Maybe one of like the Gator Hunters fans in the chat said KillRoy 3 times or something. I don't really know. But that was a little bit of a weird one because it wasn't like a shitty... Well, I mean, she killed someone, to be fair. But like it was kind of like not a bad person. Not that the teacher was either. But anyway, it seemed a little bit weird in that one to kill the person that's avenging someone who's like homophobe to the point of wanting them all dead. So anyway, that was a little bit weird. But we cut back to the house, and lo and behold, there's a banging at the window. It's clearly the boyfriend, you can tell. And girlfriend the babysitter's pissed off at him already. And the little girl runs and hides in her little blanket fort that she made. And she's like, KillRoy's here. And the girlfriend stops and looks at the little girl. And so, yeah, her gears are, clinking in her head. She goes to the girl, is like, listen, your fort is not going to protect you. The only way to stop him is to kill him, and the only thing that can kill him is this. And she hands the little girl a chef's knife. Cut to the outside, boyfriend's banging on the window. I guess he gives up and turns around and is jumped by this little girl who stabs him in the back multiple times, lower back, so getting like kidneys and all those fun things. That's good times. And she jumps off and she looks at the babysitter and she's like, I got him. And the babysitter turns him over and she looks and the little girl looks and it's like, that's not KillRoy. You said that would be KillRoy. That's not KillRoy. And the babysitter's like, listen, I told you if you cheat, I would kill you, fucker. And she stands up and immediately gets a machete right in the middle of her face. So she's dead. And lo and behold, it's KillRoy. And he looks at the little girl, and the little girl's kind of like, And he holds out his hand nicely, and she walks up and takes his hand, and they walk off into the darkness, and that's the end of the movie. So, yeah, that's KillRoy was there. Now, what did I think? Well, the Gator Chaser thing is as much fun as it is to see Chris Jericho in a role like that, and then get his comeuppance. It was weird that they chose to also kill the person that like avenged her husband who had been a victim of this guy, which that was a little strange. I don't know why. I don't know how KillRoy chooses his targets. Shit, that was a spoiler part. Okay. Non-spoiler thoughts from here on. So we're gonna have small little spoiler thoughts. Okay. Anyway, what did I think without spoilers? The one scene I just described, which I will not describe again because then that will also be spoilers, seemed a little off. But that's okay. It's fine. Maybe he's just not picky on his victims. Anyway. Overall, the weirdest thing about this film is that it was released as an NFT. That is just, I don't understand why. I mean, I don't know. That's just very strange to me. I've never heard of a movie being released as an NFT, but it was, lo and behold. And the subject matter, I remember reading about this before it came out and before it was announced as an NFT, and it was like based on the World War II meme of KillRoy was here. And I thought that was a really neat concept. I mean, it's probably going to be stupid, but it's going to be fun. It's Kevin Smith, you know. His more horror-like films are fun. They're ridiculous, but they're entertaining. So I was like, okay, this one's going to be good too. But yeah, putting it as an NFT, as soon as I read that, I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm never going to ever find it. And lo and behold, I did find it, so that's pretty exciting. Is the movie good? It's okay. I mean, it's... For the amount of trouble I went through to try to find a version of this that I could watch, it's probably... It's passable. I don't know. There's not like a ton of gore either, despite like gory scenes. There's one that shows like a head cut like this and then like the splurting coming out of the open part. But I mean, it's not like over the top gore or anything like that, so... And the story it's generally just a babysitter telling a story, right? And then all these anthology pieces of that story, and then the ultimate accumulation of those stories and the end scene. So there's not really much of a story to it either. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this one. It was okay enough. Like, it was fun to watch. The concept was still neat. The story of, you know, why this KillRoy fellow is who he is and why he's doing what he's doing is alright, I guess. Not super inspired, if I'm going to be honest. Oh, man. But it was an okay watch. The thing about this film is it's short. It's like an hour long only. So, I mean, that being considered, it almost seems like an episode of like a TV series or something like that. Like, I don't know what kind of shows would show this kind of stuff, but that's what it seemed like to me, is just a long, like an hour-long episode of a TV series based on this character of KillRoy. So, take that for what it is. Production value, I guess, was a little bit better than TV because it's a movie, but I'm curious how much money he put into this, like Kevin Smith, and how much money he made off of it as an NFT. Because I'll be honest, I don't know shit about NFTs. The concept to me sounds like stupid as hell, but I don't know about them, so I could be completely wrong. Maybe it's brilliant. I don't know. But from what I know about NFTs, it's like you get a little character, and then there's like 1,000 different slight variations of that character as like an image, and then you buy the image, and even though you can share it, you own the rights to. I don't know how it works, but it seems dumb to me. I'm also old though, so I probably just don't get it. Anyway, back to the film. Should you watch it? If you find it, it's fun enough. I mean, it's not groundbreaking or anything. But again, you can also say, like, I've seen this film. It's kind of like Begotten, which is one of those films that's so weird that you just watch it to say that you've watched it almost. I mean, obviously, this isn't like an artsy, really bizarre film like that, but it's a pretty straightforward slasher film. But that would be the reason I would watch it mostly. It's not because you're going to be talking about how great the scenes were or anything. It's just, yeah, I saw that NFT movie, so cool. That being said, what shall I rate this bad boy? Well, it wasn't awful, like I said, but not groundbreaking in any manner whatsoever. The only unique trait that it has is it's an NFT movie. So that's, anyway, I'm gonna give it. It's passable, so I don't know, 5. 5 sound good. I'll give it a 5.4. We'll give it those extra 4 points for being such a weird thing. Again, a Kevin Smith directed slasher film about a World War II meme come to life, released exclusively as an NFT. So there's your extra 0.4. So it's a 5.4. That's what I'm going to give this one. Check it out if you find it, but I mean, don't put too much energy into finding it, because it's more just bragging rights than, oh, that was a fantastic movie. Yeah, that's all I got, so take her easy.